Hello and welcome to the Wool in My Coffee podcast. I'm Jess. This is episode 7 and I'm recording on, Thursday, September 14th. I have been away for, 6, maybe 7 months. I didn't plan on leaving the podcast, just kind of hanging, but I really just meant to take a quick, a week break. I was recording everything on my phone, and to do so, I had to clear my phone out, delete all my videos, or my photos, in order to just save the video for each episode. And I was kind of exhausted, so I thought I'm gonna take a week off, kind of recalibrate and figure out maybe there's an easier way of doing it. So I'm not recording on my phone right now. I'm actually recording on my laptop, so it's not the best quality, but I figure if I'm waiting around for top-notch quality, I might not ever get around to doing another episode. So I'm working with what I have and what's going to be easiest. But yeah, so this is the first episode since I want to say January or February. So it's been quite a while. I did take a break from knitting for a while. I kind of stopped knitting, doing fiber arts for a bit. Just got into other, life things. I haven't really been super busy, but I've been working part-time, remote as an assistant. And so yeah, not a whole lot has been going on, in my end of the world. I am knitting again. I started knitting back up, I want to say, in August or so, maybe in July. I started knitting again and getting back into my regular routine. It's kind of once my daughter went back to school, I kind of got back into my routine again and my habits. And so I've been thinking about, relaunching the podcast again and starting it back up. And I kept saying I was going to do it in September. And even today I was okay, today I'm going to record episode 7. I've got lots of new things to share, but I was starting to give myself excuses well, maybe I'll just wait till next week, or maybe next month instead. But I decided, no, let me jump on, do an episode, get back into kind of the groove again, kind of break the ice, and share what I've been working on. I have been knitting socks again. I don't remember if I mentioned in the last episodes that I was constantly looking for to find that perfect sock recipe for my foot. I think a lot of sock knitters, all of us, are kind of always after that perfect fit, perfect stitch count, what works for us. And I think I finally figured out a recipe that kind of works for my feet. I ended up changing needles, dropping down a needle size, upping my stitch count. So I will talk about that with my whips, because I've got a few different whips to go on to share. I've got my fragmentation shawl. I've got a new whip that I started, I think last month. I'll have to look at my Ravelry notes. I left my notes in the other room. The dogs were barking, and I just wanted to close the door and just start recording. So all my notes to my projects are in my Ravelry page, which is noted below in the notes of this episode. And then you can also find me on social media. I have all my links down below. I'm most commonly known as Wool in My Coffee on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. Ravelry, I'm actually Yarn in My Coffee on there. And I try to update my project page pretty much every time I sit down to work on one of the projects. I've been kind of obsessive with adding little tiny details into just every time I sit down. But yeah, so I've got some whips to share. I have 3 finished projects to share. They're all socks. I actually have 1 project to share, but I don't have it with me. It's currently at the county fair. It didn't win a ribbon, but one of my things did actually win a ribbon. And I have a 3rd item in the county fair that I don't know if it placed or not. So I'm hoping to find out this weekend. But I have a few finished objects, a few whips, and then I also have some stash enhancement to share. And then at the end of this episode, I'm actually going to be talking about kind of what changes I'm going to be making to the podcast to make it more easier for me to get it up. And I'm also starting something in October with the West Knit's Mystery Knit Along. I'm like really excited about that project. And I just got my yarn yesterday. So super excited. But let's dive into the whips because I'm like anxious to like share and also kind of clear my table a little bit. I'm actually recording in my studio like last time, but I've got my I don't know, collection wall behind me. I thought it might kind of jazz it up a bit instead of just having my door. But anyways, so the first whip I want to share is I had started the Bubble Cowl by Stephen West. I want to say I started this in August. It might have been July, but I'm pretty sure I started in August. The colors are really muted on this video. I do have pictures of everything on my Ravelry that has like more true to color, but I'm currently working on the medium bubbles, and then I'm almost to the, I don't know how far. Actually, no, I just started the medium bubbles. So this is where the medium starts, and this is where all the small ones were. I wanted to note that since the repeats in the pattern, you do so many bubble rows, so I can kind of keep track of where I'm going. But yeah, so I started this, and I'm doing this all in leftover mini skeins, scraps, sock yarn scraps. Most of this, since it calls for DK, I'm doing, and I don't have a lot of DK yarns. It's not something I buy often, so I'm doing fingering weight held double for majority of this. This hot pink is actually, it's an acrylic blend that I had, I think when I was like practicing like crochet. It's super, super soft, but it's actually worsted weight. But it was kind of a lighter worsted weight, so I thought it would work, and it blended like right in. But yeah, so I still have quite a ways to go on this. I'm hoping to finish it by winter, at least before our snow hits, because it looks warm. And we get like, we get pretty cold here. Our overnights, I think I've seen since I've been here, is like, I think 3 degrees. So it's gotten pretty cold, but it usually warms up to about 30, 40 during the winter. But yeah, so this, yeah, just all scraps. I really don't have too much to note on this project. The needles I'm using are size 6 Chiagu. But yeah, so hopefully I'll have that done. I'm hoping to start picking this up a little bit more here soon. I've had it kind of hibernating for a bit while I'm working on a bunch of other projects that have kind of like caught my eye or caught my attention. But one thing I actually have been working on, and I don't remember if I shared this in the last episode or not. I was going to like kind of review it and see, you know, any repeats, but I'm pretty sure everything here is new, if not farther progressed. But so the other thing I wanted to share, the other whip is, this is my Fragmentation shawl, also by Stephen West. I started this, no idea. I have no idea when I started this. It wasn't too long ago. I know it was, I'm going to say probably sometime this summer, but I'm almost, it's kind of hard to show since I've got 3 wedges so far, and I've got that much left before I finish the 3rd wedge. I thought I was on my 4th wedge, but until I looked at it. And so I'm almost, I have like a wedge and a half to go before I get to the halfway point. But I thoroughly enjoy working on this project, and it's been one I just kind of pick up every once in a while, like at night. I'm using, I think it's size 4 needles. Let me see. I should have checked this before. Size 5 needles on also Chiagu. And I really, really enjoy working on this project. I like the fact that as you're knitting it, like this big shawl, you're actually finishing it as you go. I have his other one. I think it's the chevron version of this one that I'm going to be doing next. But yeah, I am like, I thoroughly love this one. So every time I sit down, I usually end up with doing like 2 or 3 stripes. And it's easy to like kind of pick up, set down. I've been bringing it with me to the coffee shop on like every other week. I've been meeting my friend Trish for coffee and knitting, and like she'll bring her spinning wheel, and it's been kind of fun. So I've been bringing this with me to work on since it's so easy to like stop and go. You're not doing like a million stitches like on a regular shawl. You're just working with this much. And so yeah, so this is the Fragmentation by Stephen West, and I have all my yarn notes and my colors in the Ravelry page as well below. I was gonna list it out here, but I don't, like I said, I forgot my notes in the living room, and I thought I would just wing it. And if I forget anything, I'll be sure to like note it below, unless I forget. But like I said, I have been knitting socks. So I started knitting socks again at the end of last month in August. Yeah, August. I always keep forgetting. I think we're in October. So I started knitting socks in August again. And I decided I didn't like my last pair I finished. And I think that was, it was a regular blue and white, or no, blue and like green striped, I think, or no, blue striped. I don't remember. It was Knit Picks Felicity yarn. Felici. Like stumbling a little bit. It's Knit Picks Felici yarn. And I think the colorway was, I don't know. It's in my Ravelry. I'm like, I don't know. I should really remember to bring my notes. But I didn't like the fit. I thought it was the yarn. I was using size 2 needles. I've always used size 2 needles for my socks. But I wasn't really liking the fabric. The fabric was not, it wasn't dense enough for me. It was super loose, and it just, every time I put the sock on, it would stretch out, and it didn't feel like it would actually like retain its shape and go back. And so I decided to switch over to size 1 needles, and I usually do my standard 72 stitch sock. If I was worried that it would get too tight on my feet, and so, because I don't really like super tight socks, but I like them to fit. And so I decided on a whim to try, what was it? I was doing the broken rope socks, and I have that as a finished object that I'll show you in a minute. But I was doing the broken rope socks by Summer Lee Designs, and I noticed that on her extra large, it measured at I think 10 inches around, and my measurement is like 10 or like 10 and a half, and so I thought I'm gonna do it 2 size, and it was 80 stitches, and so I decided to switch over and start knitting on size 1, 80 stitch sock instead of size 2, 72 stitch sock. Which sounds kind of weird that I'm adding stitches and also going down, but the fabric was tight enough, but I wanted some room. So anyways, so I've been knitting socks since the end of October. I finished 2 pairs, and I have 1 pair that I'm actually working on right here. So this one right now, I don't even remember where I was going with that whole story about the sock knitting, but so I picked up socks again. Started switching, my recipe, and it fit. It like fit perfectly. The only thing I'm working on right now is I think the next pair, after I'm done with this one, I'm gonna do 10 rows less on the foot, because I feel like this pair, when I tried it on, it was like a half inch too big. Like it was fine, but I think if I did like 10 rows back, I think it's gonna fit a little bit nicer. But I'm still happy with these. So these ones right here are the Scattered Pearl socks by Summer Lee Designs. I really, really love her patterns. If you hear the dog scratching and whining, she wants in. And she'll bark out the window, so. No. But here's one sock I finished. I did the heel, flap, and gusset. And I also switched, something I did switch also with my socks, is I used to do them toe up. And I switched back to doing cuff down with the heel, flap, and gusset instead of the afterthought heel. I'm finding it just fits my feet like a lot better. I have a really high or deep, I don't know if this is like the instep, but right here is like really deep on my feet. And so it feels like every time I try to get like a regular sock over my heel, it's just too tight, even though when this fits and this fits. So the heel, flap, and gusset fits my feet perfectly. So I started doing that again and cuff down. And I have to say, I'm really enjoying knitting them again. I love Kitchener stitch. So coming to the toe to do the Kitchener stitch is like my favorite. But yeah, so the sock specs are 80 stitch sock, size 1 needle. I'm doing the Magic Loop, COWL. Those are like my go-to needles, needle brand. Heel, flap, and gusset. I think I did, this was a 2x2 rib. And I think I did the ribbing or the cuff for 22 rows. And then I think I did the leg for 20, probably easier to see here, 20 rows. I have my notes in the Ravelry. And then my heel flap is 36 rows with the slip one, knit one design. And then the foot is where I'm going to be changing. The foot on these ones are 100 stitches or 100 rows before I start the toe. And I think I can get away with doing 90. And you're probably thinking that's like a lot of rows. I wear size 12 women shoes, and I have really narrow feet. So My socks always look kind of weird when I finish them, because they're super long. But yeah, I have long feet, and so but this one I had a little bit of extra at the tip before I like really pulled them up tight, and so I feel like I can get away with doing 90 rows. I'm actually gonna, when I'm doing this sock, I'm gonna keep this one at 100 just since I started this one. I want it to match, but when I get to 80, so I mark right here where the heel actually starts with the orange one, and then my markers are every 10 rows. When I get to 80 rows, I'm actually gonna try these on to see how far away my pinky toe is. Because I'm really curious if I can actually get away with doing 80 rounds instead of 90. Anything to knit less foot would be great. But yeah, so these are those, and the yarn I'm using is Lavender Lune. This was given to me by my friend, and it's the Zodiac. It's the Cancer sock from the Zodiac collection. I'm not a Cancer. I'm actually a Gemini, but I have my moon, or no, my rising is Cancer, so I thought fits. But this is the yarn for the main color, and this was the contrast. It was a sock kit, and I decided to keep it together. I usually do my own contrast, but I thought I'm gonna keep these together and knit them as a set. So that's that whip, and that one I've been working on in the morning. I've been grabbing my socks with me when I leave the house, even if I can just get a couple rows in. Socks are just really great, versatile, projects to bring with you when you're out and about. So yeah, I'm super happy with those. I thought I had another whip. Okay, so the next thing I have is it's a whip, but they're done. Because I don't know how many I'm going to make. So sticking with the sock theme, I made last year, and please ignore my nails. My daughter had this really cheap nail polish, and I decided, I was like, oh, that looks fun. And I put it on there, and literally that evening it chipped off, and I don't have any nail polish remover. So I'm getting that tomorrow. So just ignore the nails. But yeah, so I made these little tiny tree socks. The color is horrible. It's not going to pick up on this webcam or this laptop. But I made a bunch of these last year. I'm trying to figure out the best way to hold these. So I made a bunch of these last year. Oops. And this one's bright purples and pinks with lime green heel. Can't see it on this camera. But so yeah, I started making these yesterday or the other day. I wanted to start working on ornaments early because I was in the mood, and I kind of needed something small, even smaller than socks, to use up some of these these scraps I had. And I was gonna do a blanket, and I put it, I think it was the Coziest Memories blanket. I started it. I've got 4 squares on that, but I'm I think about it, and I'm am I really gonna knit a blanket? I'm not one to stick with long-term projects. I mean, I have a cardigan that's still on the needles from no, it's only been a year, so maybe not. But I'm not a big blanket knitter. So I decided to start making these again. These ones are for our house. I didn't make any last year for our tree, so I thought I would start with those first, kind of get ours out of the way. But yeah, they're really fun. They're really cute. So I don't know how many I'm going to be doing. Since I did these last year for ornaments, I'm going to be doing something different for this year ornaments. I did them for friends and family, and I didn't want to give them socks again, even though they're my favorite to knit. They take me 30 minutes to do a little sock. The pattern is Tiny Tree Socks by Summerly Designs, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. It literally takes scraps, yarn, and there's 2 different heels. You can do the afterthought heel, which I did on this one and this one, and then you could do the heel flap and gusset. I did on this one. I'm kind of liking the afterthought, and I like the fact that I could just knit, they're done cuff down, and so I can just knit until I get to the end, do the toes, and I can just set them aside, and then I can go back and pick up my stitches and cut my heels in. And I actually did some surgery on, I believe it was this one. I had done the toe too short. I wasn't paying attention to the pattern. It said to end with 8 stitches, and for some reason my brain was thinking 8 stitches per needle, so I bound off, tied it together, and it was super short. So I thought, instead of restarting the entire sock, I thought I would try picking up the stitches on both sides. I think I was 3 rows below the sock, or below the toe, picked up the stitches on both sides, and I cut the toe tip off. And I've never done that before. And so I thought, worst case, I'm going to be knitting it again anyways, or restarting it. And best case, I'll learn a new technique. And it worked perfectly. And I ended up doing it, I believe, once on this one, and then one that I have in the other room that's like half finished. I was going to do the heel flap and gusset on that one, and I didn't like how it was looking, so I decided to just rip it back. So yeah, little tiny fun. Someone said on Instagram that they're really good palette cleansers between like big projects, and I completely agree. But yeah, Tiny Tree Socks by Summerlee Designs. I love her patterns, and apparently she has a book coming out. I think it's next year. I think it's like February. I'm not sure exactly, but I saw it pop up on Amazon, and I got really, really excited about it. Okay, I have some finished objects, and I feel like I didn't have a lot of finished objects when I did the last episodes of my podcast. So I'm kind of excited. The first one is, so let me show you this first. So these are the vanilla latte socks done in, I decided to give the Knit Picks Felicia yarn another go with my smaller needles, bigger count. And I'm happy to say that I actually like the yarn now. I thought it was knitting up really loose on my last pair, and no, it was me. And so these are the vanilla latte socks on Ravelry. I've had the pattern forever. I don't think it's still available anymore. I just happen to have it still in my library. I did the contrasting toe. I believe this is Mad Tosh or Madeline Tosh. It's a skinny single, which I don't normally do for socks, but it was for the toe, and my toes don't wear out. It's usually my heels that wear out the fastest. And so this is Neon Peach. And then the colorway of this one, I think it was last year's colorway, is Countess. And then on this, I actually did contrasting toe or heels. The color's not showing up again, but just imagine it bright. Bright and colorful for Halloween. But this was a scrap yarn, I believe. I think it was from Pineapple Yarn. It was like a little mini that I got in like a really pale purple. And then I actually did a contrasting cuff on these because I don't like casting on self-striping yarn in worry that I'm going to get, like, I'll be starting with, like, say, purple, and then all of a sudden I run out of purple when I'm casting it on, and you got that, like, one thin line of, like, light purple. So I decided to just play it safe and I did 4 rounds of this contrasting purple, and then I think this is a 20-stitch 20 row cuff in 2x2 rib. This might be 10, I don't remember, 15. Like I said, all my notes are on my Ravelry page, and I'll link that below to make sure. But, and this was the same as the other sock. I did 100 rounds for the foot, which look really, they're quite big. But it's okay, it fits. So yeah, 100 rounds for this, and then, yeah. The only thing I'm trying to think if I modified it, because, no, I did, since it was an 80-stitch sock, the pattern only went to 72, but since the repeat of the pattern worked out perfectly, I was able to do, I think, 10 repeats of, for my sock. But yeah, so these are done. And I really like how they fit. I'm definitely going to be picking up more of the Fleecy yarn going into, like, I guess when they release the next one, which I think is like fall or winter. And then the other pair I have finished is, let's start with this one. This one is the Broken Rope sock that I was talking about. The pattern, okay, so the pattern is by Summerlee Designs. I don't know the pattern designer of the vanilla latte socks. Offhand, but this one is another Summerlee Designs, and it's the Broken Rope sock. This pattern with the scattered pearl pattern, or the socks I had earlier, those are in the Hello Sailor pattern set. And there's like, I think there's like two or three other sock patterns in there. But yeah, and so the pattern for this one calls for you to do the striping, and so you're doing like striped knitting, and I didn't want to stripe yarn. It's not my favorite thing to manage a bunch of different yarns, so I decided to just use self-striping yarn. I don't remember, I'm trying to think if I remember the name of the yarn. Okay, so the main yarn right here is a Perfect Day yarn, and I believe it's in the colorway is called Gray Eyes. I want to say it came with a mini, but I don't remember. I obviously didn't use the mini. I used the same yarn for the heel as I did with these ones. And then the cuff was done in an old Republic of Wool. I believe it was called Goosebumps. It was a yarn set. And then I did Goosebumps for the toe as well. But yeah, these are super fun. I did the heel flap and gusset. I don't remember if that calls for it. I don't remember. I know the Scattered Pearls asks for or calls for a afterthought, but I did the heel flap instead. And then here it is, spread out. And like I said, it's way more colorful in my photos. Maybe next time I'll be able to get my camera set up in here, but I really wanted something I can actually see, because I'm not sure if I'm like, look over here. And that's the whole reason I decided to use my laptop today. But yeah, so I have 2 finished socks. Almost 3. Those ones are like, I'm hoping to have the other ones finished maybe this weekend. I have another pair I want to cast on, even though I don't really know what pattern I'm probably going to do. But those ones I'm going to be doing a shorter foot just to see how it goes. So we'll see how how these fit as I try them on when I get to like the pinky and see. But for sure I'm going to shorten them. But, okay. The last thing I was going to share is some stash enhancement. And I actually have a couple things, because I did get the yarn for the Geogradient Mystery Knit Along that I'm doing next month. It shipped so fast. I ordered it on Monday and it arrived yesterday. So Monday to Wednesday. I'm keeping those yarns in a plastic shoebox, only because I decided to go with, I wish I had the tags. I did Malbrigo, what is it called? Makita. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's their skinny single fingering weight. It feels a lot like the Hedgehog skinny singles. And because it's skinny singles, it gets fuzzy kind of easy. I don't know if you've noticed when you work with it, or if you have worked with skinny singles, or single ply yarn in general, it fuzzes really easy. But I love using it for like shawls because they leave them kind of squishy. And so, it came yesterday. My needles are coming today. So I swatched my color swatch on size 5s, even though it calls for size 4. I have size 4 needles, but I think they're all like on shawls that are hibernating. What's one more set? But so the yarn came yesterday. I already caked it up, and let me stack it so you can see. The colors are not going to show true. Actually, they are showing pretty true on this laptop. But yeah, so these are, like I said, the Malbrigo. I'm probably slaughtering the name, but it's Makita skinny single ply yarn, and the colors are not here. Wheat grain is the bottom one, is my lightest, and then I've got the Frank Ochre, Vulcan, and Musas. I'm like slaughtering all the names today. I think it's Musas. It kind of reminds you of like Medusa, but it's like a deep plum purple. The Vulcan has kind of like burnt reds, oranges, a little bit of like almost like a muted green. It reminds you of like fall leaves. And then the Frank Ochre is kind of a mix between like that mustard and like chartreuse. I tend to always buy this yarn quite a bit. Anytime I buy Malbrigo, I always seem to order it in Frank Ochre. It's just one of my favorite colors. That, and I think it's Madeline Tosh Candlewick are really similar in color too. But and this one reminds me of our aspen leaves, kind of up north near us. And then this one turned out a little bit darker than I had planned. I thought it was gonna be more tan, like almost like sand, but it came out more of a taupe color, and I kind of like it because it reminds me of like the smoke and such from like the fire pits in the fall. So I went for a very fall palette, which is not usually like me. I tend to like adding like a fun, like a splash of color. But I thought I'd step out of my comfort zone with this one, and I'm actually really, really happy. So I did my little swatch last night just to see the colors. I didn't do a gauge swatch to his recommendation, only because I always tend to knit pretty on spot when it comes to gauge with the West Knits shawls and patterns. But yeah, I'm really happy with the colors. I think it's going to look really neat. Of course, like I wish I know what like, you know, the shawl's going to be, but I'm feeling pretty confident going into it. So I think it's going to work really, really well. I was originally going to replace the red with like a green, but it looked too much like my exploration station I did, and I wanted to kind of branch out from my comfort zone a tad. But yeah, so I'm keeping it in this box for now until I get a... I'm thinking about, like, you know, at the grocery store where they have like those reusable bags, like they're like that tarp material. I think I'm going to pick up one of those or find mine and keep my project in that, only so it doesn't have any fabric that like makes it fuzzy. Because I had a shawl like that before and it just kept fuzzing up, and it was fine, but I want to try and protect it a little bit more since I picked that kind of yarn. The other yarn that I ordered with my mystery yarn or mystery knit-along yarns is another skein of Malbrigo. I never know if it's Malbrigo or Malbrigio. I say both. This one is their sock yarn, so it's not the Makita. It's just the regular standard sock in the Ursula colorway. And I've been eyeing this yarn for a while, and so I decided to just kind of throw it into the cart. You know, just, why not? But it's like purples, kind of like deep plums, purples. There's some like dark blue, and then there's like some modeling of white with like rusted colors. I have a feeling it's probably not going to knit up what I'm hoping it's going to knit up like, because I was looking at some other projects that people have done with this yarn, but I think it's going to be really good for socks. I was going to use this yarn for a pair of Dustlin socks by Stephen West, but I'm really worried that it's going to be so busy that you're not going to see the design or the detail in all the knitting I'm doing. So I might end up just doing, I don't know, either maybe a pair of vanilla socks, or I might try and do another, the Daily Socks by Summer Lee Designs. I did a Daily Sock, I did that pattern a while ago with Republic of Wool Goosebumps that I had. I think it was Goosebumps, yeah. And I was doing the size 2 with the 72 stitch, which I think were just the large size. And they ended up, the way the stitch pattern is, it ended up being just a little too snug for my feet. Like, I was able to get them on my feet, but I was really, like, I was struggling. So I decided I'm going to try them again, because they were literally just like just a tad too small. So I'm going to try them again, and I'm going to do the extra large, which is the 80 stitch. And I think that should fit pretty well. And this will help kind of bring out some of the design in that pattern, because I think it's some kind of, I don't know if it's like a slip stitch type style pattern or what, but I remember it like on my other pair, it really enhanced like some of the mixed colors. But yeah, so this is the Ursula colorway. I really like it. It's kind of fun. I don't usually buy purple yarn. I'm more of a green, aqua, teal. I also stick with a lot of like the mustards and I don't know. I like more muted colors, I guess, with a splash of like neon though. The other stash enhancement I have, this was actually from a giveaway I won from, it's on Instagram. It was 1764, the 1764 Shepherdess on Instagram. She was doing a small giveaway, I believe, in August, where if you share, it was a post on the Spin 15 a Day challenge that she was doing. It's like a spinning challenge. I've been loosely following along with it and trying to post here and there, but I keep falling out of sync with it. But I ended up being a winner, so I was really excited. And she sent me 2 gorgeous fall braids, and I believe this is the Cheviot wool. I have never spun Cheviot wool, and I've been told that it's very springy and it makes for really good like sock yarn. And so, my dog's just going crazy right now. I don't want to spin sock yarn. Like, I don't want to spin hand spun yarn to wear socks, because I know I'll probably just like destroy them. I have to be real. I'm gonna destroy them. And so I'm thinking, since it does have a springiness to it, I'm gonna spin it and make some like maybe like hand like mitts, like fingerless mitts, because that has a little bit of a stretch to it too. So I'm thinking I'm gonna do that. But this one is like this pumpkin color. They don't have names on them, but this is like a pumpkin orange, and it's really pretty. And then this one, I wasn't sure if this was gonna be burgundy or brown, but it ended up being really like a chestnut brown. And I'm gonna be saving these to spin. I actually have a new wheel that I'm purchasing from a friend of mine at the end of the month. I've been waiting very patiently. I'm going to be purchasing her used wheel. It is it's a Kromsky Minstrel, I believe. And my current wheel is like really old. I think it's by Heavenly Hand Spinning, so it's not. It's a I believe, what is that, Irish drive? I think it's Irish tension, Irish drive. I can't do thin yarns on it. I think the thinnest I can do is like I can spin fingering weight carefully, and then apply to about DK worsted weight. And so I want to spin thinner. I want to spin something a little bit more consistent. And I've been wanting to get a wheel for a while. And so she happens to have a wheel that she's going to be selling. And I am excited, and I can't wait to start spinning on it. I've also been thinking about getting the, I think it's Dreaming Robots, the Electric Eel Nano 2, the little electric one. It's a really good price, and I'm thinking it would be really fun to have a little electric wheel when I meet up with our knitting and spinning group, which is just me and Trish right now. We're in the mountains so far. But yeah, and so I thought it'd be kind of fun to bring that with me to be for coffee, and something small and portable. So we'll see if I end up getting that next month. But yeah, so that's all my stash enhancements. It was a fun yarn day yesterday, getting like 5 skeins of yarn and knowing that my mystery knit along is like ready, and I'm like anxious to start it. But and like with all Stephen Wise pattern, I always learn like something new. I mean, I've been knitting for like 21 years, and it's like I try all different kind of techniques just to at least try them once. And like with his projects, it's like I'm always like something totally different that I never thought of, and they're always really fun. But dog. When she barks a lot and gets whiny, she starts carrying herself. So just ignore the dog. But so some changes going forward in the next podcast. I do want to get back into a regular routine again of recording podcasts and sharing what I'm working on. I've been knitting a lot more lately, and so I am definitely going to be having more to show, more to share. I felt like before, when I was doing I think it was like once a week I was doing a podcast or an episode, I felt like I was sharing a lot of the repeating projects. Like I wasn't finishing things, and I was constantly stressing out about not having something new to share. And I think that just kind of led to a really quick burnout. And then I stopped knitting for a while. And so this time I'm not going to have a set schedule where I post, a new episode every Friday. I think I'm going to do it where I'm aiming for like every 2 to 3 weeks, minimum at least a month. I'll have a new episode up, unless I have something else to share. Maybe 1 month I might have 3 episodes. Maybe 1 month I'll have like 1. So I'm not going to set like a strict like schedule or anything for, getting episodes up. And so, yeah, I don't know when the next one's going to be. Hopefully in like 2 weeks, maybe sooner. We'll see. If I finish a lot of stuff, I mean, obviously I might jump on. But starting in October, since I'm doing the mystery knit along with the West Knits Geogradient, I thought it would be really fun to do, just as I said, I'm not going to do weekly. I thought it would be fun to do a weekly, like, end of each clue week recap of, like, my progress, where I'm at, what I'm doing. I can't think because that was me. That was me. I just threw a clip kind of over in that direction to distract her. Anyways, I thought it would be fun to do a weekly recap after each clue and just kind of share my progress. I didn't want to do one like in the middle of the clue or the recap because I don't want to leave any spoilers for anybody. I mean, I could put a warning, don't look until you're done with clue 1 or clue 2. But I think it's going to be pretty obvious if I put on the actual, the header thing. I haven't really thought of it yet. But yeah, so I might do that in October. Just kind of do like, hey, this is where I'm at, and kind of share along. So yeah, we shall see. I'd also like to do a couple quick little mini videos of like basics, like knitting basics. Like here's a knit stitch. Here's how I do a knit stitch, how I do a purl stitch. Little things like that, kind of like knitting 101. I've just had a lot of ideas brewing all month and like last month, and I'm ready to start like sharing again. But for this episode, that's all I have. I want to jump on here really quick, I guess I don't know how long it's been. Not really quick, maybe like 30, 40 minutes. But I wanted to jump on here and get episode 7 done and out into the world and start sharing, kind of break the ice. But yeah, so until maybe a week or two, I'll be back with hopefully more goodies to share.